Welcome back, everybody. My name is Randy. Of course, this is the 5.5 Garage, and today we'll be improving the lighting situation on my 1996 Mazda Miata with some special help from Auxbeam. Now, before we begin, if this is the first time you've watched a video on this channel, allow me the opportunity to say hello and welcome. But if you've been following me from day one, if you have watched, subscribed, and liked some of my previous videos, like the Mazda Speed 3 videos, the Honda CBR videos, or even the Trailblazer videos, if you have been following the channel, and you should be following the channel, you will know that I picked up a 1996 Mazda Miata, and it is my current warm weather car right now. It's my daily because it's a convertible, and I don't think I need to explain myself more. But I have been making some small changes to that car. I changed out the seats. I added a set of seats from Corbeau. I added a quick detached steering wheel from Energy Innovations and a nice leather wrap steering wheel from D&D Performance. I have added a roll bar from Hard Dog Racing. And one of the things that I wanted to address as I'm daily driving it, the lighting that was okay in the 90s is not cutting it now. The headlights are seal beam halogens, but even still, I'm used to having LED headlights in the Trailblazer. I'm used to having projector headlights in my Mazda Speed 3, and as I'm driving the Miata at night, the lighting is just not cutting it. So fortunately for me, the fine folks at Auxbeam reached out to me and asked me would I like to do another video series about lighting after they watched what I did to my Chevy Trailblazer, and of course I was on board, and here we are. I was very excited when Auxbeam reached out to me to do this series because I'm very pleased with their products. My Chevy Trailblazer is running all Auxbeam lighting solutions. I'm very happy with it, and I did that about 2 years ago. All my bulbs are still functioning. I have no burnouts. I haven't had any issues. So when they asked me if I wanted to do this, that's why I jumped at the opportunity. To give you guys an idea of why I like using Auxbeam's LED bulbs is because this is a bulb from a previous project, and as you can see, it's got the LED chipsets all the way around the sides. As well, it has them in the top. But when I originally got these to use for a Trailblazer project, they weren't that bright. I was using them for my brake lights, and even though you can kind of see them in the daytime, they just were not bright enough for that project. This is 1156 LED bulb replacement from Auxbeam, and as you can see, compared to the other one, there's just more LED chipsets on this, as well as on the top you have the 3 chipsets, as well as this almost like a projector, so these are much brighter. I used these on the Trailblazer, and it made a big difference over the other bulb, and that's why I am excited to see how these are going to work in the Miata. So for this series, I'm going to be starting at the rear of the car, just because it gives me a little bit more room so I can actually get the camera in and you guys can see what I'm doing. Now, if you are familiar with swapping out LED bulbs into a car that was not designed to use LEDs, when it comes to the turn signals, you will get what's known as the hyperflash condition, and that is where you use your turn signal and it just flashes really fast. And that is because the LEDs do not draw the same amount of current as would a standard filament bulb. And to the relay that controls the flashing motion, it seems to it that like there's a bulb that's out, and that's why you also get that condition where if one of your bulbs goes out, it flashes really fast. One of the ways we can remedy that is to you can switch to an LED relay that works with LED bulbs, or this is a load resistor, and its job is to draw the same amount of current as a standard filament bulb. So when you put your LED bulbs in, they don't cause the hyperflash condition. And the way this works is you wire this into the power line going to the bulb and then to a ground. You also are going to want to make sure to place this resistor somewhere where it is on metal. Do not place it on anything plastic. Do not place it on anything that is cloth. Do not place it near anything that can catch fire. These get very hot. So, disclaimer, make sure you mount this in a location where there is metal to metal contact so it can help dissipate the heat from this. With all that said, this is a pretty simple kind of project that you can do that can help kind of modernize your car a little bit. I'm going to be adding in some extra lighting as well, and I will cover that when we get to it. I am going to try to show you guys step by step. Hopefully I don't leave anything out. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them down in the comment section and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. With all that said, let's get started. Okay, so here we are at the back of the car. Now, the first thing you want to do in the situation is to go ahead and disconnect your battery cables to the battery. We're going to be working on components of the electrical system, and you want to make sure that you're not going to short something out or, cause other issues. So, as a safety precaution, first thing, always disconnect the battery cable. Next, as we begin, this white plug right here has to be removed before we can remove the taillight assembly from the rear of the car. Once we disconnect this white plug, there is 1, 2, 3, and 4 10mm bolts. And once you remove those, you should be able to just gently push the taillight housing out of the car frame. And as you can see, 4 bolts and the taillight housing comes right out. And this is actually what the brake light and reverse light reside in. And to remove this is simple. You just squeeze these two and it comes right out. And like I said, this one just is a twist socket and it comes out very easy. And these are all the bulbs that are in the taillight housing. This one on the far end, this one's going to be your reverse light. This is your stoplight. This is the turn signal. Now we are going to have to wire in our load resistor into the wiring for the turn signal to make sure we don't get a hyperflash condition. And as you are doing this, please note, these are not all the same bulb. The turn signal and the backup lights are 1156 bulbs. The stoplight is 1157. For those of you who are curious, you cannot cross mix 1156 and 1157 bulbs. They cause great issues, as I found out as I was researching this. So I'm going to get started by beginning to switch these bulbs out. And I'm going to clean this housing as well, as it is like super dirty. And then we will pick this up as I begin to start wiring in the load resistor. All right, now with that cleaned up, all we have to do is swap the bulbs out, which is pretty easy. But like I said, you need to make sure you are swapping the right bulb with the socket. So like I said, the reverse light and the turn signal light, those will be 1156 bulbs. The stoplight is 1157. And the Auxbeam bulbs have the same socket as the bulbs you're replacing, so you just push them down and screw them in. That was the easy part. The next step is that we need to add a load resistor to the turn signal circuit, and the load resistors that I ordered off of Amazon, they came with these wire splices. I'm going to give these a shot, and if I find that they're not going to work, I will just go ahead and splice the wires and solder in the load resistor. But I'm going to give these a go first. To add the load resistor into the circuit, you're going to need a set of wire strippers, and just strip some of the insulation away and then slide it into the wire splice, and then take the wire splice and put it over the wire you want to splice into, and then you crimp it close, and that's about it. And as you can see, I got both of my ends stripped, and you just slide it into the wire splice, splice it onto the wire, and then everything should work. Cross your fingers. Okay, now that I've gotten the load resistor on and all the bolts are in their socket, I'm going to now reconnect the battery cable and give this a test to see and hope that everything is working correctly. I have the taillight assembly back in the car. My lines are hooked up. I have spliced in my load resistor, and I was able to add it right here on the end where one of the studs for the taillight assembly comes through. And I was able to use a drill bit to widen out the hole. I think I used a 1164 drill bit to widen the hole in the load resistor so it will slide over the stud, and then I used a nut, tighten everything down, and this side is done. I've already went ahead and tested it. Everything works fine. And in the next camera shot, I will show you guys the difference. Okay, I turned the light out in here so you guys can see better, but as you can see on the left side of the car, this is the side that still has the original filament bulbs in it, and on the right side is the side that I've already done the LED conversion on. As you can see, just from the turn signals, they are much brighter. They are white bulbs, so it won't have the same kind of dark amber hue as it does on the left side. But as you can see, the brake lights are clearly brighter, and the reverse light is clearly brighter. So far I'm really pleased with that. I'm going to go ahead and do the work on the other side now. I thought this was interesting. I started working on the driver's side taillight, and it looks like the previous owner was already considering doing this conversion, as there was a LED bulb that was already in the reverse light. So I'm just going to go ahead and swap that out, but I thought that was an interesting find on this car. And it is kind of interesting, some of the things you find when you are going through on a project car and you come across attempts at trying something but not being fully completed. Okay, now both right and left tail light are fully LED, no hyper flash condition, everything works great. The next thing I want to tackle is the license plate light. Now, I was not able to find a bulb that would work for that application, but I did come up with an idea. Now, I did some searching on Amazon, and what I found was this little guy. And this is a 6 chipset LED light, and it looks like it may fit into the area where the current license plate lights are. And basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna snip the wires over there, solder these in, use some shrink wrap tubing on it to protect the connection, and hopefully these will work. Spider cam time. This right here is the little bracket that holds the license plate light in, and this is the actual frame. So it takes 3 10mm bolts to take this out. And there we go. And this is a light housing. It's just plastic. I am going to try and clean this up a bit. Then we'll see about fitting our light in here. And then wiring it up. So then I'll have a working light. All right, so to give you guys a little update, I got it to fit. It did require using a Dremel because when I first measured, I measured at the base, but I didn't realize that there's a little step down in here. So it made it a little difficult to get the LEDs in place. But I used a Dremel. I smoothed out the area a little bit enough so I could get it to fit. And now it is in there. And the next step will be soldering in the lines and then checking to see if it works. These are the original lines that went to the license plate light. I have snipped them and used these connectors to connect them to my new modified LED light. And I'm going to hook the battery back up and then let's see if it works. And we have success. Now all I have to do is put this back where it goes and bolt it back down. And you can take the wires and zip tie them together and then stuff them back in the housing to keep them out of the way, and this part's done. All right, and there we are with the new LED license plate setup. It actually came out pretty great. I am pretty impressed with that. Those lights were actually for motorcycles. When people do a fender eliminator and you live in a state where you need to have a light on your license plate, that's what those lights are for. And I decided, hey, if they work for a motorcycle, why not work for a car? And it actually came out pretty good. But I still have one more thing to do before we can wrap this up. And guys, the last little tidbit that needs to be done is replacing the side marker bulbs. And these are really easy to replace. All you're going to need is a Phillips head screwdriver. Wiggle that out there. And this is the bulb, and this is just your standard 197 bulb, and we're going to replace it with T10 LED bulb, excuse me. Now, if you put these in and you try your lights and it don't turn on, you may have to take it out, turn it, and then put it back in and see if it works. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and install this like so. Push it in there, and then I'm going to jump up, test it, and make sure that it's working, and then put it back together, do the other side, and then we can wrap this up. Okay, so my parking lights are on, but didn't light up. So pop it out, turn it around, plug it back in, and there we go. And that is a wrap. Go ahead, check your bulbs, check all of your connections, go ahead, hook your battery back up, and check all your lights. If your load resistors are wired in properly, you should not have a hyperflash condition. If you do, go back and check those connections once again to make sure everything is secure. Other than that, we're done with this specific project in this new lighting series for my Miata. I like to give a big thank you to Auxbeam for sponsoring this video and supplying some of the products that I used in it. I'm really eager to try out a set of their 7-inch LED headlights, but that will be in a future video, so make sure to click that subscribe button and leave me one of these on the video. Hopefully you guys learned something today. I know I did. I know that taking apart a car that is almost 30 years old can be somewhat of a pain, but we got it done. It's getting a little late in the evening. I'm getting a little bit hungry, so I'm going to clean this up, and then I am going to go and enjoy the rest of my evening. I hope you guys are enjoying yours, and I will see you on the next one.